Hello and very warm welcome all of you to this video of Learn Flutter Step by Step. Now this tutorial is for absolute beginners. In this tutorial, I will be talking about what is Flutter, how you can set it up for your local development on Windows OS, how you can set it the Flutter for your IDE. In my case, I'm using Visual Studio Code. Then I'll give you brief introduction of generated files and directory structure of Flutter. Then we will create a blank application, or you can say a hello world kind of application, and run it on our emulator of or our device. And then finally we will create our small application on which we will be displaying a list using the list view widgets. Alright, so after watching this tutorial, you will be able to create your simple Flutter application. So now what actual Flutter is? So Flutter is a platform which is introduced by Google recently, you can say in 2018 or 19, and the main motto to provide this platform is to create native application for both iOS and Android platform. But with the latest release of the Flutter, it is not limited to this native application for mobile apps, but now you can manage a web application also with the same Flutter code. And the main advantage is we have to just maintain a single code base, and we have to learn only one language to create our mobile application as well as web application. Isn't it cool? As in, Flutter also provide an software development kit to compile our native machine code for both iOS and Android. And Flutter also have widget libraries. And what is widget? Now widget is in the Flutter, everything is like a widget, and we will see what actual widget is when later in this tutorial. Like Flutter is providing a wide range of widget library to create rich user interface. So now as a next step, I will show you how we can set up Flutter locally for your device on Windows operating system. So first I have navigated to this flutter.io website, its official documentation, and then just navigate or click on this get started button. There you will have to select your operating system. So here I'll be selecting my operating system to Windows, and here are all the instructions to how you can start installation or getting started with the Flutter. So first go through this system requirements. It requires an operating system greater than Windows 7, then disk space of 400 MB, and most important, before starting with the installation, your machine should come with this two installation. One is a PowerShell, and I think PowerShell comes with inbuilt with Windows 10 OS. So in my case, I'm also using the Windows 10 OS. So I'm not looking for this Windows PowerShell because it is already there in my local machine. If you have not installed this Windows PowerShell, you can click here and follow the steps. And as a second tool, we will need to install that Git for Windows, and this Git is required for source control versioning. So probably you might not actively using it, but Flutter is using that Git system control actively. So I have already installed this Git for Windows, and while you are installing this Git for Windows, make sure to select use Git from Windows command prompt option when you are installing through the installer. Alright, so I have done these two steps before downloading the Flutter SDK. Now as a next step, what I'll do is I'll click on this get the Flutter SDK link, and it will download the source code for me. So I already downloaded that Flutter SDK, and now let me navigate to this, and on my local directory. Let me create one folder. So I'll click on new and folder. So I'll name it to source src, and inside that source directory I need to extract this Flutter SDK. So I'll press or extract that Flutter SDK over here, and I'll wait it to finish. So after having extracted that Flutter SDK in your C drive source folder, you can navigate to that Flutter directory, and inside that Flutter directory search for that batch file. So in my case I'll be opening up this flutter_console.batch file. So I'll be double click on that, and you can see this Flutter is now running on my local machine. Alright, but you might probably want to open this Flutter application also from the normal command prompt. For that, what you need to do is you need to set a path variable. Alright, so I need to set the path till my bin directory. So I'll just copy the entire path up to my bin directory. Then I'll go on this start menu and searching for environment variable, and I'll click on this environment variable. Then I'll be having that path which is located under your username. So I'll press that edit, and I'll be having the new path. So here I'll press this new, and I'll paste my path till the bin directory. Alright, now having that setting up that class path, I'll be opening up the command prompt again, and let me just run the Flutter command. And if you are having some Flutter is not recognized or something, then you need to restart your machine, and if it is like showing that anything like related or warning, then probably your path is updated and your Flutter is working correctly. So in my case, yes, my Flutter is working correctly from any Windows command prompt, and if you find out any errors, you can just restart your Windows and check. And still, if you have some trouble installing it, you can follow the instruction guide which is on their official documentation. Alright, now as a next step, we will require to install the Android Studio. Why we required Android Studio? Like as an IDE, I am using Visual Studio Code, but I'll need Android Studio to have my emulator. So I have already downloaded that Android Studio to my machine. So now as a next step, what I'll do is I'll just open up the setup and I'll install the Android Studio as a next step. Now this Android Studio will take some time in installation. So what I'll do is I'll go through some installer, and so I'll be having this installer. So I'll be saying that okay, I'll press this next. Make sure to select this Android virtual device, otherwise you will not have that your emulator while you are running the application. So I'll be selecting that Android virtual device. I'll press this next. Then it will ask for the default location where you want to install this Android Studio. So I'll be having this default C drive program files in Android Studio. Then it will install the Android Studio, and it will take a while. So I'll be back when it is done. Alright, so setup is completed. So when now I press the next, and it will prompt me to finish the setup and launch the Android Studio. So before opening that Android Studio, let me just open the command prompt and check flutter doctor command, which will give us the report how the Flutter is installed and it is working correctly or not. So it is giving us the report ready, and then we can check what are the errors. So it has given us the first error of accept version licensing. So you can see it is giving us an error of Android toolchain developed for Android device. So first we need to run this command flutter doctor -- Android license and follow the step. So over here, as a next step, here I will write this command flutter doctor and Android licenses. So then it will ask us and accept the license terms. So here I would say yes, and okay, so license is accepted and yes. All right. All SDK package license accepted. Now again, if we rerun the command flutter doctor, then if we can check what errors it is giving us. So now you can say Flutter is installed and it's stable version. Again, Android toolchain developer for Android device is installed. Now it is giving us some errors for Android Studio. It is saying that Android Studio doesn't having that Flutter plugin. Even in my case, I'm using Visual Studio Code, so it is also saying that we do not have installed the Flutter plugins from the market. So that's not an issue. What we'll do when we create the app and open our IDE, we are going to install those packages. So now let's just open Android Studio, then click on here right hand side bottom and click on this configure. Now click on this plugins, and here we can search for that missing plugin, like say for example Flutter, and you can install that plugin and accept, and again that will prompt you before installing the Flutter you will require also the Dart plugin. So I would say okay, and then now it will install both Flutter and the Dart plugins. Again it will prompt me to restart my IDE Android Studio, and I'll say okay, restart the IDE, and then let me just wait for the IDE to restart. And all right, as a next step we are going to configure our Android virtual device manager. So it will be required to having that virtual device. All right, so I'll press this create virtual device, and then over here you can select the emulator, whatever the device you want to create. So in my case I'll be selecting this Pixel 3, and I would say next. Then it will ask you to select the operating system. So in my case I'll be selecting this Android Pie version. First it will download the version, and then it will create an emulator for us. Again it will take us some time, so I will be back when it is done. So yes, installation is finished, and now if we can select the OS and press the next, then again we can give a name of our virtual device. I'll leave it to Pixel 3. Again I'll say finish, and if everything goes correctly, now if we can press this play button, it will start our Android virtual device. We will require this emulator to run our Flutter application, or else as an alternative we can run our application in real device. So I will show you how we can run the application on real device also later on in this tutorial. Alright, so now as a next step, while the emulator is setting up, I'll open the Flutter Doctor again and run the command again. So, and checking whether that error of plugins with the Android Studio is gone or not. So yes, now you can check our Flutter channel is stable, Android license and toolchain is installed, Android Studio is up and working correctly, and we have one connected device, that's our emulator. So now if we can navigate to this emulator, you can see our emulator is also up and running. So now this is the time to create our first Flutter application using command line for Flutter. To create the Flutter application using command line, the command would be Flutter create and the app name. So here I would say my first app. Now again, before creating the Flutter application, you need to navigate to the directory where you want to create your application. So again, I'll just navigate to my directory where I want to create my application, and now I would write the command Flutter, then create and the name of the application. So I would say my first app. Alright, and now if I press the enter, it will create a brand new Flutter application using the CLI. So my first application is created, and as you can see, in order to run my application, I need to navigate to my application. So here again I would say cd and I would say my first app, and the command to run this application would be Flutter and run. Before running this or before starting this application, you must enable that emulator, or you must need to start your emulator or your real device. So now it is building our application, and if everything works correct, then we can see our first application is running on the emulator. So first we will wait for the application to build the Gradle, and then it will run on our emulator. It's just a firewall. I'll say allow access, and so yes, now our application is ready, and it is up and running on our emulator. And as you can see, the Flutter is come with hot to reload feature. So now if we change anything to our source code, we do not need to refresh or rerun the entire application. Just pressing this R button will restart our application, or just it will hot reload our application. And as you can see, this is the Flutter application, which is by default coming when you are creating a Flutter application using that CLI. Now as a next step, I'll open up Visual Studio Code, and I'll use that as my IDE. I'll show you what are the directory and files which got generated when you created a project using command line, and then we will create our first application using Flutter and Dart. So now after opening my IDE Visual Studio Code, we will have the generated directory and files. But before diving introduction with this directory and files, let me just install the plugin for Flutter and Dart. So here you can search for this from the marketplace, and first we are going to install that Flutter plugin, and it has installed. And by installing that Flutter plugin, you are already installing that Dart plugin. So now if we can run that Flutter Doctor command. So if I open up command prompt, and I would navigate to my directory, and again on that directory, I would say my first app, and if I write Flutter doctor, now it should not give us any errors and our project would be perfect. Alright, so it is now saying that your no devices are available. It is because I turned off my emulator, so that's fine, right? Now if we are navigating to this directory structure, as you can see, the first directory is that .idea directory. It has nothing to do with our Flutter project. This folder is generated, or this folder has a setting of Android Studio. We are not using that Android Studio as an IDE, so probably we are not working this folder or directory anymore. Then we are having that Android folder, and by default this is an Android project. Your Flutter code will be migrated or merged inside this Android directory. Then this build folder is important. Whenever we are compiling our Flutter code, it will generate a build inside this build directory, which this build directory is having our generated builds. But we are not actively using this directory. It is already, or it is managed by Flutter itself. Then this iOS directory is the same like an Android. Whatever the Flutter code you write, and whenever you are publish or whenever you migrate it to the iOS, it will be inside this iOS directory. This is the lib directory, or you can say a library directory. It is the most important directory. We are working 99% inside this directory, and we are having all our source code inside this library directory. And as you can see, it has one file, name it to main.dart, which is our first file, which when we are running our application, it is the first file which got executed. It has the main method. Alright, I'll come to this code later on in this tutorial, but let me just go through the directory structure. So next directory would be the test directory, inside which we can write our automated test. So this would be the kind of section when you can have this section later on when you are writing or you are going with some advanced kind of topics. Then again, this is a git ignore file. It is just git ignore, or you can say a git is a version controlling system. So this is a kind of file which code you don't want to push to your versioning system, and so on. This metadata and package both are like configuration files which is managed by Flutter itself. So we are probably not doing any work inside this metadata and packages. This my first app.iml file is again a file which is generated by Flutter itself for its internal dependency. And again, it's a kind of passive file which we are not working in entire project lifecycle. This is the file pubspec.yaml. Again, this is an important file. It contains all the dependencies of our project, so we can add additional dependencies or any third-party packages if we want to use, we can add over here on pubspec.yaml file. Alright, so this is a lot of stuff which got generated automatically when we create a project using Flutter command prompt. So now let me open up this main.dart file, which is the only Dart file which got execute when we run our Flutter application. So now before starting with the Flutter, let me just first get rid of this by default coding which comes with an Flutter application, and write the application or hello world application from the scratch. So as you all might probably aware with the Flutter is using Dart as a language. So inside this main.dart, first we need to create a main method. Now this main, as you know, it's the starting point of your Flutter application. Now again, in Flutter, as I said, everything is widget. To draw anything on your mobile screen, we need to create a widget first. So now what I'll do, I'll create one class and I'll name it to my app. Again, you can give it any name. It doesn't a keyword or it would be anything. So I'll be saying class my app, and I'll create the syntax for this. Now again, this is just a normal class. We need to create a class which has a method who return as a widget. To do so, we need to extend a stateless widget. So in Flutter, there are two types of widget, stateful widget and stateless widget. Again, I will come into the details of stateless and stateful in another video. Now in this video, we will be focusing on stateless widget. But before using that stateless widget, we need to import the Flutter package. So over here on line number 1, I would say import, I will say package, and inside that package, I'll be using the Flutter, and inside that Flutter, I'll be using material.dart package. Alright, and now I can extend that stateful or stateless widget. Alright, now when I extend this stateless widget, it is giving us an error. Now, as in, if you can hover on that error, it is showing that you are not implemented this class correctly, or it is missing that build method. Alright, so you can use this quick fix, it will give you the solution, or what you can do is we have installed that Flutter and Dart plugin. So if I write this or if I go and search for the build method, it will give us the syntax ready. So again, this build is a method which takes one argument, which is a type of build context. And again, we are not calling this build method from anywhere. Flutter is calling this build method itself when we execute or run our Flutter application. So we should not taking care about what is this argument actually is. Flutter will call this build method itself, so it will pass the argument or parameter itself. But this method will return us the widget. Now again, inside this method, we will implement our code. So here I would say, instead of returning null, I will say return material app. So here I'll say material app widget, and this material app widget has a property, or you can say has a named argument, and we can say home, and this home argument again it expects a widget. Now in Flutter, as I told you earlier, everything is widget. That means we cannot set this property like hello world like this, because it expects a widget and here we are passing a string. So this is not valid. So again, we need to pass a widget for the home. So again, here I'm saying, okay, go and implement this text widget, and that text widget has an argument. Inside that argument, we can pass our string. So here I'll say hello world. All right. And we have one shortcut to format this document. So I'll using that Alt Shift and F key to format my application. All right. Now we have created a class name with my app. Again, you can give it any name. It is just my app name. Then extend the stateless widget. this stateless widget it is an inbuilt class provided by material.dart, and it has a method which we need to override. It has a method named build. Now this build method is not executed or called by us anywhere. This build method will be called by Flutter itself automatically when we create an instance or an object of this myApp class. Alright, and inside that build method I am saying return a very basic widget, and I name it to material app, and this material app having a named argument, you can say home, and inside that home I'll be setting up a very simple widget, text widget, and inside that text widget I'll be passing hello world. So this is your class. Now as you will know, first method is to be called as a main method. Now inside this main method we need to execute this myApp class build method. Alright, and as I told you, we are not going to call that build method ourselves, so we just need to create an object of that myApp class. So here Flutter provides one more method, and the name of that method is runApp. So this is the runApp method which expects an object. So here I'll say myApp, and I will be passing that myApp, and then whenever we run our application, it start execution from the main method, and this main method has a runApp method which in turns call this myApp, and then myApp will execute this build method. Alright, now if everything went correctly, and now if I start my terminal, and if I write flutter run, and if everything will be correct, then you can see your first application would on your emulator, and that should be having a text named to hello world. Alright, so we can see hello world as an output on our emulator. I know this is not good in design, but this is what I want to teach you, how to write your first Flutter application from the scratch. So we have created a main method. Inside a main method we have created or called this runApp, and that runApp will execute this myApp. It initiate then myApp class object. Alright, and this is the build method. This will be called automatically by Flutter itself, and this build method will draw a widget on our Flutter application, and by default we are using a very basic widget. His name is a text. Alright, now this Dart language has one more feature. If you have only one line in your function, exactly one line, then we can use another syntax. It is the same as like an arrow function. So over here what I'll do here is void main, and I'll say arrow, and then I can use that runApp method, and again inside that runApp method you can call that myApp as a function. Alright, so these both are a valid syntax. You can use whatever the syntax you want to use, and as I told you, Flutter comes with a live to reload feature. So if you want to use that hot reload, just press R, then just press R on your terminal, then it will reload the application, and you can say our application is still up and running. So after creating this simple hello world application using a very simple widget, text widget, let me show you another widget, and the name of that widget is a scaffold widget. Now this scaffold widget will give you a mobile page ready, like that mobile page is having one application bar, one application body area, where you can simply draw another widgets. So now let me get rid of this text widget. Instead of this text widget, I'll be using that scaffold widget. And this scaffold widget having some named argument. As you can see, it has an app bar, background color, body. So you can use any of these named argument. So first I'll be using this app bar. Now if you can hover on this app bar, you can see app bar itself is a widget. So we cannot set the application bar's text like normal text. It will give us an error because app bar itself is a widget. So again I'll be calling one more widget, and that widget is having a name of application bar. So I'll be saying app bar. Now this widget having another named property, and inside that app bar widget I'll be setting up this title property. And that title, again, if you can hover on this title itself is again a widget. So there is a lot of widget. So as I said earlier, in Flutter everything is a widget. So inside this title property I'll be using that text widget, and inside that text widget I'll be setting up the text application bar. Alright, now I'll be using another property of this scaffold widget. After that application bar I'll be using another property, and the property is body. Now this body itself is a widget, so we need to pass a simple widget. So here I'm saying a text widget, and I'll be displaying inside body as a text. Now let me use some formatting so that you can easily read whatever we have used. Now you can see we created an app bar. Inside that app bar we will be setting up the title property. We will be using the body of the scaffold. Now this body is a property of a scaffold widget, not the app bar widget. Make sense? And now if I open up my terminal, and now if I use that hot reload feature, you can see our application is having an application bar as well as one body area. Now let's say, for example, you want to make this text of application bar as in center alignment. We have one more property inside this application bar widget. We can set center title. Now this center title property is a type boolean. So we need to pass a boolean value over there, not a widget. So I will say a true value. And now if I again use that hot reload feature, and if I press R, then you can see my application bar is having a center alignment. Making sense? Now as a next and a final step, I will show you how we can create a list view inside this body area. So now for creating or displaying a static list inside our body, I'll first get rid of this text widget, and instead of that text widget inside my body property, I'll be using one more widget, and I'll name it to list view widgets. And now this list view widget itself is having many named arguments. We can use any named argument we want to use. Like say for example, we are talking about how we can bind a static data or a static list to my list view. I'll be using a children. So here inside that list view, I'll be using a children property that itself is an array of widget. So we can have multiple widgets inside that children property. So now inside that children property, I'll create one more widget, and here inside that children widget, I'll create a list tile widget. So I'll be saying list tile. List tile is like a list view is a container and list style is a one row, one object. So now inside that list tile widget, I'll be using another named argument, and inside that list tile widget, I'll be using that title property. Alright, now title itself is a widget which requires another widget. So inside that title, I'll be saying a text widget. Alright, and I'll be assigning it some static text. Let's say, for example, Jinal. Now inside this same list tile, I want to use the another property or another argument, and that is a leading, and I want to display a leading icon before the name, before the text Jinal. So I'll be using that leading property, and that is having another widget. So here I'll say icon, and inside that icon I'll be using icons dot, some inbuilt icons are there. Say for example, like we have alarm icon, accessibility icon, or anything, right? So here I'll be using that accessibility icon, and I'll just use a formatting to make it readable to you. So again, what I have done is I have used a list view. Inside that list view, I have used another widget or named argument of list view to children. And inside the children is an array of widget. So inside that children, I have created a first row, or you can say a first item of a list view. Now what I'll do, I'll simply copy and paste this list tile, and I'll just duplicate a list tile, and I'll create one more name. I'll say Shah, and instead of that accessibility icon, I'll be using another icon. Let's say for example, add alarm. Alright, and now if I save this, and I'll be using that hot reload feature, and when I press R on my terminal, you can see it has created a list for us, and that list is having a leading icon, and then after it has a text. This is how simple we can create a static list view inside a Flutter application. Now as a next step, instead of having this static list, I'll be create one array, and then I want to loop through that array and display it to this list view. So as a next step, I'll be navigating to my class, and inside my class I'll be creating one array. So here I'll use a list to create my array, and I'll say this list is type of a string, and I'll assign it let's say items, and say for example I want to assign it some values. So over here I'll say okay, and I'll bind a Jinal, Shah, and a Flutter. Alright, so now I have one list which consists of 3 items. Let's say Jinal, Shah, and Flutter. I want to create a list which will loop through this all 3 items and display it on this application bar, or sorry, display it on this body area. Now instead of creating a list tile 3 times, I want to use a dynamic method to create this list view. So now in order to make our list view dynamic, let me just get rid of this static list, and on my body I'll be using a list view, and that list view is having a builder method. Now this builder method will responsible to create our list view runtime. Alright, now this builder method has having some named argument, like say for example it has a named argument named to item builder. Now this item builder, you can see it's again a widget which expects a function. Alright, and then again it is having a one more property, or you can say a named argument, and that is an item count. Now focus on this too. Item builder is responsible to build a rows. Like say for example, we are having 3 records in our list collection, right? So item builder is responsible for loop through these 3 records, and item count is a property which has a total number of counts inside your list. So now say for example our list has 3 records inside the list collection, then simply what I'm doing is, as an item count, I'll be passing, let's say items is a name of my list dot length. So that would be the count. And inside this item builder, what I'll do is, for easy to understand, what I'll do, I'll make the item count as a first argument and item builder as a second argument. Now inside this item builder, as I told you, it expects a function which is having a 2 argument. First is a build context and the second one is integer. So what I'll do over here, I'll create a method and I'll say context, and another argument I'll be saying index. Now inside that method, we need to return some widget. Alright, so inside this method, what I'll do is, I'll first create one variable. I'll name it to, let's say item, and that item is having our current items. So I'll say items of my list and index. So that will be having a current item inside this item property. And then I will be returning a list tile widget. So again I'll saying return, and inside that return I'll be returning list tile widget. And again, as you know, list tile is a widget which is having a name property title, and inside that title I will be displaying the text widget. So inside that title I'll say text, and inside that text I'll bind my item. Making sense? Now as a last step to make it readable to, I'll use some formatting. Again, list view has a builder method to create the list runtime. Then again that builder method having 2 arguments, or you can say so many named arguments, but we are focusing on only 2 arguments. One is item count. This count will be for how many records or how many items you have inside your list collection. Then this item builder is responsible to loop through the entire list and bind or convert one record to the widget one by one. Right? And finally it is returning as a list tile as a widget. So now if I save it and use that hot reload feature, you can see we have a list readily available and it is having a 3 argument. Now this list is infinite and it is having a scroll bar also. So when you have more records which do not fit in a size of the screen, then you will have the scroll bar also. Again, this is just a static list. Now if you want to add more items inside this list runtime, then we have to create a stateful widget instead of the stateless widgets. Alright, so we will see what is the stateful and stateless widgets in a next video. So in this video, we have installed the Flutter on your Windows machine. Then we have write the application from the scratch, beginning with hello world. Then we have seen how we can create a list view statically, and then finally we have created a list view runtime with the builder method. Alright, thank you for watching the video.